December 19th, 2025. Is there a massive stock market and crypto market meltdown coming globally? Why is everybody talking about Japan's interest rates? This is my wheelhouse. This is where I shine. This is why I'm stoic. This is why I'm calm. This could create an amazing opportunity for you to get amazing buy-in prices. As you saw Bitcoin dropping down to about 86, XRP at $1.90. There will be a moment in the future. Trust me on this. You can save this video. You're going to come back and say, holy crap, I could have bought these assets, very good technologies and companies at a very fair price. But you're caught in the noise. You're caught in the parroted information, price predictions, hype, and hopium. This channel is about teaching you the facts, figures, numbers, logic, and how this actually works. So I want to help you understand how to invest to beat inflation, how to invest to understand interest rates. I don't care what asset class you get into, but you got to understand how interest rates work. The wealthy will always remain the wealthy. There is a reason. Listen to me, why Larry Fink now says, if you're worried about the debasement of your country's currency, Bitcoin might be a good move. There's a reason why Trump said in 2017, I've showed you the video incessantly, that we're going to be on an even playing field monetarily before we know it, because he was worried about the debasement of our currency. The Genius Act, stablecoin regulation that uses 60% bonds, short-term treasuries, a global currency that is balancing out the US dollar. Trump is about to bring in a Fed that's going to lower. This is really important. The video I'm going to show you, I found a video from 5 years ago that is going to help explain through Ray Dalio what this means to your economy. Here's the good news, though. This isn't 1929. Hear ye, the banks. You literally can make decisions now. You can pick up your iPhone. And you can invest. You can research. You don't have to walk into a financial advisor and ask them to help you. You can fix it yourself. So as you go through the process, I don't want you to invest in what I'm investing in. I want you to decide what works best for you. And on the back end, I'm going to share with you how my Capital DR strategy is not only crushing inflation, but setting my family up for the next 100 years. Okay, so we're first going to listen to a video. You need to get your pen and paper out with these videos, okay? You need to get Ray Dalio's Changing World Order and the Big Debt Crisis. Those two books will change your life. We're going to watch this video from 5 years ago. Look how young he looks. Ray Dalio is one of my favorite economists. I study him nonstop. Just last night, I was rereading The Big Debt Crisis. Okay, this is how I make my investments, guys. I'm very, very lean and mean on my personal side, debt-wise. Any of my debt is on the business side. And any debt, most debt that I put in, I have a little bit of debt on the personal side, which is going to be completely wiped out in 2026. I invest and then I spend. Okay. I'm constantly putting money into assets that have fixed supply that are going to beat this. So you got to understand. So I'm here this video. I'm just very hyped up right now. This video 5 years ago explains it beautifully about what's happening with Japan right now and how it's going to affect you. Okay. So we're going to stop this and narrate this. Then I'm going to show you what's happening this week in Japan. I hope they raise interest rates, and I hope that they pull Bitcoin as low as possible. I hope they pull XRP as low as possible, because I'm Warren Buffett, baby. Warren Buffett, styling crypto. Good companies, good technologies at a fair price. I love the fact that we're buying so low right now. But after this video, I'm going to explain to you what I believe Trump is going to do. Okay, check this out.
Japan, because when you're looking at the United States, the Japan example, I think, is a very good example.
Now, remember, this was 5 years ago. He predicted all of this.
Japan has total debt to GDP of about 500%.
Write that down. Japan, that's crazy. Japan has total debt to GDP of 500%. China's at 300%. America's at 120%. That's a signal for you that I'm going to tie together on the back end of this.
And it has a government debt to GDP of about 270%. So it is way, way, way more leveraged in a sense than the United States is. And so then the question is, as we go through this, the magnitude of monetization. You have to go back to say, who are the buyers of the debt and what are the motivations? There is a greater fool theory The greater fool theory can go on for a really long time. The timing of when that shift takes place is very much dependent on that. So as we look in terms of, let's say, the United States, certainly it's the case, and then Japan, certainly it's the case that we can't support these kinds of debt. So anybody with a sharp pencil will know that we're not going to be able to support that. That doesn't mean there won't be adequate buying, just like in Japan's case. You can have plenty of buying. You provide enough liquidity, and the question is, what are the choices?
That's a key factor. You can provide enough liquidity. Okay. What is Trump about to do? He's about to bring interest rates as low as possible and print a ton of money. They're already starting the printing machine, guys. Okay. But remember, when you're worried about the debasement of your country's currency, Larry Fink told you what to do. Trump is building and showing you what he's doing. Trump Media is one of the top Bitcoin treasuries. American Bitcoin, Eric Trump. XXI, the number 3 Bitcoin treasury, which connected to Cantor, which is a crypto company, who's their commerce secretary, Howard Lutnick.
So the big shift in terms of going to the notion of what do I do with my money? Let's say you have a lot of liquidity and you're the world has lots of liquidity. Today, the world has lots of liquidity. The question is, what are its choices?
So that's how I make, that's as I learned all this stuff. I've been studying him for a long time. I'm like, what are my choices? So I'll share with you what I do with my money.
And what do those choices look like? And then you put your money. So you produce a lot of money around, a lot of liquidity, and then say, do you stop buying U.S. bonds when you have, or do you stop buying Japanese bonds when you have no interest rate and a currency risk? And so when do you stop buying? Well, it's when you have confidence in ultimately when it's driven to something else. At some point, you get a move toward inflation. If there's a move toward, like, I want to hold inflation assets, then you come into problems. Until you don't have that move to move toward inflation assets,
super important.
You have a capacity for a lot of the buying there, and so the timing. So this could go on for quite a long time.
Okay, so this can go on for quite a long time. Okay, when you have the propensity to create inflation, so if you print a bunch of money in a low interest rate environment, you create massive amounts of inflation. That's why Japan needs to raise the rates. Guys, it's out of control. 500% debt to income ratio. It's out of control. They have no other choice but to raise rates, which is going to crush the global economy. Okay, there's going to be a massive pullback, and then it's going to start to reset itself. Okay. America's only at but we're at 120% debt to income ratio. So we have a lot of capacity to monetize debt. We can print a lot of money and monetize a lot of debt for a long period of time. Japan is showing you. So why do you think gold, silver, Bitcoin now, the most scarce asset in the world, are at all-time highs? Guys, it's all mathematics. It's the same system, just different tools.
Because you have to go back to the buyer and you say, who is that big buyer? We know who the big buyers are of U.S. Treasuries. Okay?
China.
We know who the big buyers are. And then you know, look at their choices. Look at their preferences.
Not a lot of alternatives.
So there are all of those. So these are it's not sound finance. and when we talk about our budget, we're also not talking about the non-liability, the social, the pensions, the other liabilities that exist. We have a lot more promises than we can keep, but the timing of that very much depends. That can go on for a long time. So there's a lot of dynamic between now and a problem, just like Japan can go on.
Japan can go on forever. That was 5 years ago, and boom. Well, here we go. Now they're facing the problem. This is 5 years later. Bank of Japan rate hikes could trigger 20 to 30% Bitcoin decline as market price, 98% probability. Okay. That's amazing. That's amazing. People like, I'm going to do a video tomorrow about the media is like, oh my God, Bitcoin's down to 86,000. It used to be $3,000. I was buying it at what I thought was the all-time high was 25,000. I hope it drops down to 70,000. I hope. I'm a long-term holder. Okay. These are great opportunities. So he predicted this 5 years later. This is his book right here, How Countries Go Broke. This is Ray Dalio. Okay. This is what did I do? I just stopped sharing. Sorry about that. This is his book, How Countries Go Broke. You should read all of his books. Okay. The change in world order, the big debt crisis, they're big, they're complicated, but keep reading them. Okay. For example, we have seen this clearly in the Bank of Japan's policies of aggressively monetizing a lot of debt and keeping real nominal interest rates extremely low, which has resulted in the currency and the debt denomination in its currency being devalued. Since the start, 2013, the holders of Japan's government bonds have lost 60% versus gold, 45% versus the US dollar, and 6% in domestic purchasing power, as average inflation was 1%. The devaluation came gradually rather than abruptly because the yen is a fiat currency, not backed by anything, but it came for the same reasons it would have come if Japan had the hard currency, too much debt that needed to be monetized. Okay. That's what's about to happen in America. They are going to monetize a ton of debt. That's going to result in, so when China raises the interest rate, so what happens when China raises the interest? Borrowing yen is no longer free. It was basically free, guys. You could borrow the free. High Japanese rates, higher costs to borrow. Okay. The profit margin on the carry trade collapses. That's the reverse carry trade that everybody's been talking about. Okay. Capital rushes back to Japan. Investors sell off US assets. Okay. The buyback yen to repay their loans, right? Their loans aren't free anymore. They have to sell their assets to pay back the loans. This creates selling pressure in US markets, strengthens the yen, and liquidity is drained globally. Okay. So these are the type of things that you should be learning. You shouldn't be waiting for a cryptocurrency to go to a certain price. You shouldn't be waiting for an asset to go to an all-time high. What you should be doing is preparing yourself with a system to understand this happens over and over and over again. So what I did is I created a system. It's called CAPL DR. It's macro and microeconomic protected. It's C, cash flow. Cash is trash. The yen, perfect example. It's a fiat currency. It's absolute trash. So they have to raise their rates to bring their currency up, which is going to destroy all the people that borrowed at nearly zero. Trump is going to bring interest rates as close to zero as possible. He's going to print a ton. Look at the runway that he has ahead of him. We're at 120% debt. He just showed you this can go on for a long time, guys. But guess what? Somebody always loses. Imagine an interest rate symbol. You're earning it or you're paying it. That's it. You're earning it or you're paying it. Don't make this too complex. Don't sit there and wait for saviors. Okay. Cash flow. Income and cash flow are different. Income is what you get paid. You get paid for trading time for money. That is someone else's debt in America, China, and Japan. You're getting paid in someone else's debt. Someone's income is someone else's debt. That's it. So you're getting paid in debt. That's a modern day slavery. That's modern day slavery. So you take that income, and richest man in Babylon, the first thing you do is you invest. You do not spend. In America, we're flip-flopped. You spend, then you save. We should be saving first. My first fruits go into immediately creating a brother or sister. Okay. I put 10% into dividend stocks that pay me more cash flow. That's passive. Okay. I take the rest of the income outside of debts and non-negotiables and I put it into A, assets, capital DR. A. I use assets based on Ray Dalio and based on the economic factors into things that have fixed supplies that, number one, beat inflation, that are going to be here over the next, I believe, 10 to 100 years, that I can measure in my zone of competency that I understand. I understand cryptocurrency very, very well, and I understand banking very, very well. My top assets are XRP, Bitcoin, now WL as in Larry FI, the World Bank, okay, World Financial, World Liberty Financial, Solana, XLM, HBAR, and VChain. Those are my top cryptocurrencies. On the stock side, it is now American Bitcoin, ABTC, XXI. So I have the payment rails, which is really, really important in regards to the liquidity crisis that we're in. We're in a liquidity crisis. XRP solves the bridge currency liquidity crisis. Okay, I have Bitcoin, which is a store of value, which is a new gold, which if you're worried about your country's debasement of currency, I like to store my money in Bitcoin. Okay, I have WLFI, the new World Bank, World USD1, stable coins. He created the rules, the Genius Act, the Clarity Act coming in. Your Bank of America, Wells Fargo, Chase, the very one that told you to run, is now going to allow you to leverage your crypto. They're going to ask to custody your crypto. It's going to be institutional adoption. I've been trying to tell you guys the game since 2020. So those are assets that I focus on. When those assets profit outside of Bitcoin, I pull profits. I think it's absolutely ridiculous to not pull profits. It's silly. I'm telling you guys, don't get married to these assets. Pull profits. Get your initial investment out, pull profits on the way up, and secure. We move it into cash value life insurance. That's the first move. 10% of it goes into more cash generating dividends to create cash flow. Rest will be stored in stable coins to buy absolute fear when it comes collapsing down again. This is not a super cycle. They are lying to you. It is not going to go straight up. No markets ever go straight up. There's always a boom. There's always a bust. Okay. The next presidential election will probably be ran on, oh, the rich got richer. The middle class really didn't get more. Middle class actually didn't do better. This is going to be the presidential next race, right? Oh, the rich got really rich. The middle class actually didn't really move forward, right? Because they just monetized a bunch of debt. They're going to be in the exact same position. And then things are going to get really expensive. It's going to be on inflation. And those who hold the hard assets are going to be really, really rich. Really, really rich. Okay. And then L is leverage. So when everything comes collapsing down, everybody's running from the fire, I'm going into the fire with OPM. Borrow at very low leverage off my insurance policies, my family banks, and I go buy the assets, good companies, great technologies at a fair price. And it cycles again in 2029 to 2030. I do the exact same cycle, just like I did from 2020 to 2022. Now I'm doing it from 2024 to the back end of 2026. And then I'm going to repeat the cycle, capital DR number 3. And then by 2030, we will have tons of cash flow. Okay. And all we do is sit back, and it doesn't matter what the asset is. It matters if we're going to beat inflation. And we just go back and forth with the economic cycles. That's it, guys. That's what Ray Dalio is talking about. They're not sitting there waiting for XRP to go to 2,000, 10,000, all these crazy price predictions. They're not waiting for Dogecoin to go through the roof or your favorite crypto, Bitcoin to go to 1 million. They're buying these things based on macro and microeconomic impacts, right? Maybe it's gold and silver for you. Maybe it's real estate for you. I just did some real estate moves based on tax. I don't think real estate is a great investment anymore. I just don't. The only reason I made a move for real estate is we were using the short term. Me and my partner just did 2 moves right now. We short term rented our private residence, our personal residence. We're making some moves because it gives us great tax benefits. I'm only, you would generate 7-8% every single year on real estate. I can make 50% a year on my Bitcoin. It doesn't make any sense, right? So you just have to understand interest rates. That's it. So I hope this education helps and you understand the implications of Japan raising interest rates. All this stuff affects you guys. Okay. So stop get out of the hype model. Okay. Get into macro microeconomics. Study Warren Buffett, Ray Dalio, Charlie Munger, God rest his soul, Kathy Woods, Robert Kiyosaki, right? Study the wealthy. See what they're doing. Raoul Pal, I love Raoul Pal. Stansberry Research, they're really good. ITM, I know they're not crypto people, but gold, like that's what I study. I don't watch hype. I don't watch bullshit. The price predictions, it's gross, man. It's gross. It actually destroys people. It creates hope, which is like crack. It's like hopium. It's the greatest drug ever sold. That's not how wealth is built, guys. It's built off discipline, consistency, structure, God, family, and protection of your ecosystem at all costs. So I appreciate you guys. I love you. I hope this information reaches your heart well. And we'll be back tomorrow. And so what's interesting is most of you are not subscribed to this channel. So hit the subscribe button. It helps us get out to more people. So if you thought this content was valuable and it's helped you in any way, you could help us by subscribing to this channel. I love you guys. Warriors, rise. Get your shit together. Love you.